All right. I'm with my wife, Kimberly. We run Desert Point Kennel. I'm Randy. And we're here to give you a honest, relaxed, kind of kickback overview of running a kennel. We're just going to tell you how we do it, some of the problems we've had, some of the joys that we've had, and hopefully if it'll interest you, if you're starting a kennel, maybe it'll help you do that. Goals, I'll start off because I have the goal of breeding the best German Shorthairs that we can. I had a German Shorthair when I was a kid, and it was a versatile German Shorthair Jack that could do just about anything. He'd play with you all day. You could throw a stick over, a deer fence, and he'd go over and get it. He's just always happy to see you. When I was in 5th grade, Dad and Tom shot a buck in the vineyard, and they couldn't find it. It was wounded, so they went and got Jack, and I watched him go through the vineyard and find a fork and horn young buck and grab it by the neck and pull it down. And he could find deer. He would either come back and get you or bark. He could do pheasants. He was great at pheasants. He could do water work. Then when Kim and I got into a short hair for a family dog and a hunting dog, I noticed that some of the traits weren't there. Then we got our second dog. I noticed that some of the traits really were missing there too, and I really didn't know why, because it was hard to do research. So then I asked Kim what she wanted to do, and we retired. She wanted to do something with the German Shorthairs with our dogs. So we decided to start a kennel. Kim, being the dog hoarder that she is, we have a lot of German Shorthairs. The goal is to breed the very best German Shorthairs that we can. To breed versatile German Shorthairs. I have in my mind what a perfect German Shorthair pretty much looks like, other than color, his build, but what he can do. We want a good point, a good back, a great family dog, a dog that works within range, a great water dog. We want a dog that can handle all the versatile hunting dogs activities, like finding fur, killing a cat, putting a fox up a tree, going after rabbits, tracking down game, deer, pointing upland birds, ducks, doing ducks, the whole thing. And Kim, I'm gonna give you a chance to talk here.
Yes, Randy.
What do you look for in our dogs, in our German Shorthairs?
Well, everything that you said, a good point, a good back. Love the water.
You really could care less any about that. What do you like about the dogs?
Oh, I like that they are so smart. They're fun. They everything that they do, they have fun at, and it's fun to watch them when they're out, whether they're out running around or out hunting or just playing in the yard. They have to be kind. They have to get along with all the other dogs. They have to get along with puppies, and they have to get along with all the people that come in and out. All of the grandkids. They have to be kind and loving, and all of ours are. We don't keep anybody that's a little bit aggressive, because they just don't fit in our program.
Yeah, we don't like them. We want them to get along with each other, because they live in a pack. They sleep, work, play, eat in a pack, so we want them to get along. We want them to be good with puppies, want them to be good with people, and like Kim said, they're pretty smart. We like them to be smart. So, I'm looking for a hunting dog and a good family dog. Kim's looking for a good family dog. And
a good therapy dog. I like when we get to take them into places and you can show them off and all of that.
One reason we did therapy is our short hairs were so nice and so kind to people, like the best lab, and it just made sense that we could maybe enrich somebody else's life by bringing them in. And we got involved in Love on a Leash. And he's going to tip the microphone over. Jackson, what are you doing? You know? Tip over my microphone. So, anyway, we got into that. And so the health of the dog, we want the dog, of course, to be healthy, and they are. They live to be about 14 years old. There's almost no genetic, problems, defects. We test for pretty much what we can. We use Wisdom Panel, and Wisdom not only tests for the 4 or 5, genetic problems of a short hair that they might have, and you can look that up what they are, but it tests for every single defect that they can test for in every single breed. So it's something like 130 tests that are done. They have good hips. The hip dysplasia, they're 98.2% hip dysplasia free. So, you don't have a problem. You don't have a problem there. The looks, you have a preference for looks?
I don't know. It's so hard. I like the black and white, the black roan dogs, but I really like the liver roan dogs too. They're just so beautiful.
How about the solid blacks?
I have a couple of favorite solid blacks that we have, but as far I'm not quite as
solid liver
as happy or as excited about those. The solid livers, I have a couple favorites, but I'm not too keen on that either. I really like the look of the roan and the ticking and all of that.
Yeah,
but I do have a couple of blacks. The solid blacks are really beautiful, especially when they're little. They look like little jaguars. Or no, Black Panthers.
Yeah, the dog we had when I was a kid, the short hair, was solid liver. So, solid liver. How about the whites?
I don't really like the whites because they just are, we've had a couple that were really great. That were great. Fancy and Pepper were great dogs. But, they just were kind of a little more aloof than the other ones. They were more interested in running out and doing stuff than really sitting with you and cuddling and everything else.
Remember, there's 4 types of white. Okay, there's American Field Trial White, which has a lot of English pointer in it, and there's German White, which are German DKs, are just the same as their blacks or their livers, and there's American Versatile White like Rob, and they're versatile and they can do it all, and then there's Show White. So sometimes the whites, depending on how they were bred and what they were bred for, is the difference. And I think one reason that we typically really don't prefer whites in our kennel is white dogs are harder to sell, for one thing. And if they come from field trial white, then we have a harder time guaranteeing the dogs. And we like to guarantee our dogs for everything. So when people get the dogs, we guarantee that they're going to do water work. And it's like if you get a white one and it's a field trial line, you don't really know if they're going to do water work or not. So, facilities. Why don't you tell them about our facilities?
We have we here at the Redneck Ranch, we have a great facility.
Meanwhile,
we have we usually whelp the puppies in the house. The mom stays in there with her puppies until they're about 4 or 5 weeks old. When they start crawling out of the box, that's usually when we move them. And we move them into we have puppy trailers, and they have pine chips, what's that called? Shavings, down on the ground. And then there's an area that's kind of a little bit closed in, and that's where there's a heater and some blankets for them to lay on. We usually have heaters and air conditioners in all 3 of them that we have. And we keep them in there until they're about 5 or 6 weeks, and then we kind of open the door, and they've got a door like a doggy door. They can come in and out then, and then they go outside, and they have a little play area outside they can play in, and we put toys in there and balls and blankets, and the girls go in there and play with them at least once a day.
Who are the girls?
Oh, 2 of our granddaughters, Haley and Scarlett.
They have a radio in there.
Oh yeah, they have a radio in there.
How important is it to keep the puppies warm?
Oh man, that's very important. We have cameras too that are set up and the camera goes right to the what's it called?
Your story.
The cameras are set on the thing that tells the temperature gauge, so that we can, when we're in the house, we can tell what the temperature is in there, so we make sure it doesn't get too hot or too cold. It also has a microphone, so we can hear them, so if somebody starts screaming or something, we can run out there. But I mean, they're checked on at least 20 times a day. We go out there and feed and water them and play with them, and
a lot of puppies are lost at a lot of kennels because of cold. At Whelping especially, you should have the temperature at least 80 degrees, and you should keep it warm in their kennels, in their trailers, in the house. We only have a heater in the room. We have a heater where they sleep, so it's usually 2 heaters and also a heat lamp that comes down on them to try to keep them warm. And then so that kind of takes care of whelping. We whelp in the house, like Kim said, and on the pups that we just try to you got to get them socialized. You have to spend a lot of time with them. About running the business, I kind of got this bounced around a little bit. We're going to try to cover as much as we can. So we run a business, and that's what we do. We're retired from our regular jobs, and all we've been doing for the last 12 or 15 years is just German Shorthairs. So we decided to try to run a business and do the best job we can and learn everything that we can about, basically about short hairs and about the business, and so it covers a lot of things. We have to have a plan, we have to have prices, we deal with our customers, we have to do the shipping. The first thing I did, those are pointers, not German Shorthairs barking. The first thing I tried to do was learn as much as I could about German Shorthairs. I have a background in dog. Well, you do too, Kim. Tell them about your background in dogs first. You grew up with dogs?
Oh, yeah. My mom, we grew up with dogs. My mom did, she bred poodles when I was a kid, and we had them. And then as we got older, she opened up a grooming shop and got into showing dogs. So she mainly showed Bichon Frisés, but she also had some Brussels Griffons and some bearded collies, and her and my dad did a lot with that. And then she did the grooming, so we always had dogs all the time at our house, always more than one.
Yeah, they even won her little syndicate, her mom's syndicate, won Westminster breed with the Bichons. And so she was really, really into it. And I think I remember Kim saying more than once, her and her brother talking about that what?
When we died, we wanted to come back as one of my mom's dogs because they got so much good attention.
So, in the dogs, I mean, the first step in running a kennel is the dogs. And it all revolves around the dogs. So we set up our facility to be, super dog friendly the way that we think it should be. And we're different. I mean, I remember getting a multi-$1,000 kennel system with the stalls and the gates and the chain links, and it's like it stood there for years, and we never did put it up. It's just we don't use kennels. But we have. Well, tell them.
Yeah, everybody. They're all together. They. We have several. I don't even know how big our place is, but we have a redneck pond, so they can run over there and swim if they want. We have lots of area for them to run and play in. We get them lots of toys, old shoes and water bottles and socks and blankets. And the German Shorthairs don't really like to lay on the dirt. So we have blankets outside where they all lay down on.
In different spots we have a couch, and they can always come in here. We have a double wide that's set up. The dogs can come inside, and they can come into our house, and they can go inside and outside there. Mm-hmm. And so they don't have kennels. At night they sleep in the house or in one of the trailers, the double wides. If I'm sleeping out in the toy hauler, they'll come out there and stay there. And then they play and run all day long. They go over to the pond, and they interact with all the people that walk by them. There is no kennel, even though we have 20-something dogs. The dogs are not caged up. We don't believe in letting the dogs sleep on hard surfaces. They're not in a kennel crate, with a hard plastic to sleep on. They all sleep on blankets or padding or couches or beds. Yeah. And that's the way we
always did it.
And it works good for us. In the morning, typically, hey,
Jackson.
Don't do that, Jackson. Jackson's trying to eat the desk. In the mornings, every other day, we try to give them a break. Every other day, we do an outing, and that's all the dogs, and I'll drive down a couple miles or walk back, or we'll go to the water. Sometimes we'll do 2 or 3 outings a day where we go to the water. We're out running the dogs, we're hunting them, we're working with the younger dogs. And, they're pretty, the next part was health. We don't have health problems. We don't spend a lot of time going to the vets because we have health problems. So we go to the vets because somebody, even if they got bit by a rattlesnake, we'll take care of that at home. But, we have vets. We get veterinarians way down, but we'll talk about them. You need a vet. There's several here in Yuma, and we've only found one place that we really like. It's a young veterinarian, and if you can get a rapport with the vet, so you can call them up if you got questions. Our biggest problem was getting in for an appointment, even though there are main vets, and we may have been using them for years. We don't use them a lot. So if it's time to we need them right now. And the problem is that you call in and say, we don't have an appointment today. And it's like, well, when do you have an appointment? Next week. Well, I don't need an appointment next week. We need an appointment now. So we use Ironwood Veterinary Clinic, and we found out that Ironwood saves a space, a slot for visiting, one a day. If you call in at 8 o'clock, then you can get that one slot. So how do we do it?
You call and I call, and then we try whoever gets through first.
Yeah, that works pretty good. I had a problem, a question for Doc, and he's a young doctor, and he called me back, and we talked about it. And so the vet bills can be expensive. We've had a couple that were, $1,000, $2,000, and they can add up real quick. I know friends that do artificial insemination. Their dogs are in for C-sections, and I know one guy that had his vet bill was $10,000, and they can add up, and they can add up real fast. As far as food goes for health, one reason I think ours are healthy is, they're fresh air, fresh water, a lot of running, a lot of exercise, and when we go on the outings, there's a special plant. It's a brittle brush. And they eat it. It's kind of piney, citrusy. The dogs eat that, or we go to the alfalfa fields or buy it, and they'll eat that. If we get into the other grass, they'll eat the grass. And we like Purina Pro Plan the best. Purina 1's also good. We're using another dog food from our best friends run a feed store, and they wanted us to try their dog food. It works pretty good. We also feed a lot of raw. There's been times when we fed everybody raw all the time. How do you use what we've canned?
Oh, we usually use that for the pregnant moms.
Thanks.
or the moms that are feeding. He canned a whole bunch of the.
What I do is take 10 pounds of chicken, 20 pounds of chicken, legs and thighs, and I grind it up so you got the marrow and the bones from the calcium, and then I add a pound of liver, a pound of fish, and a bunch of eggs. And then that goes into a canning. We'll do it raw sometimes, but it's just easier to keep if I jar it.
Yeah.
And then Kim gives that to whom?
We give it to the moms and the pregnant, or the pregnant girls and the moms that are feeding. And then we usually mix it in with the other stuff for the puppies when they're starting to
So the puppies get it when they get started about 3.5 weeks. She's meant to say that the moms get it when they're nursing their puppies.
Nursing,
and then other aspects of pups is to take care of the puppies. Kim does a tell them about the Top Dog, the performance puppy.
Oh, the super puppy training.
Super puppy
training. I read I don't even remember where I read it, about super puppy training, and it's supposed to help them open up their senses a little bit so that they can learn better. You just hold them up and up for 5 seconds, down for 5 seconds, on their back for 5 seconds, and then upside down for 5 seconds, and then go between their toes for 5 seconds, and then put their feet on a wet washcloth. And that usually opens up their senses, and they learn better, become smarter pups.
What are the ages?
Oh, you do that between 3 days and 16 days.
Yeah, I don't think those are the exact dates. I think it's 3 days to 11, but you can look it up. This is a military program. The militaries use it to do make they're better dogs. This is where we learned it. I learned it. I read it in The Art of Raising a Puppy. These are the monks of Skeet, and they raise German Shepherds, and they use it in theirs. And so Kim has kind of adopted a little bit different, but it's to put a little stress on the puppies when they're small, and that way they're supposed to be able to handle stress when they're when they get older. So she does that, and then we socialize the puppies, play with the puppies. The puppies are usually they're always whelped in the house, and so people are walking by and talking to them. The girls are picking them up, and then they go into the other house, and then shots. Tell them about the shots.
We give shots at 5, 7, and 10 weeks.
Jackson, that's my boot.
We do that because we are really, we use the same shots. We're pretty strict about using a really good shot. It's a little more expensive, but we feel like it's worth it because we definitely don't want anybody getting parvo.
We use Vanguard.
Yes,
we use Vanguard plus 5, and the reason we use Vanguard is you want to use a shot that has a high titer count. You want to use one that's designed to get under the protective immunity of the mother. So even though the mother is keeping the puppy from getting parvo, this shot will get in there and it'll work on the puppy so the puppy will not get parvo. 5 years ago maybe, we had a lot of parvo and we were using inferior shots, and we started using this shot, and we've never had parvo since. And remember, parvo shots is what's going to kill them. It's a 5-way, or you can use something else, an 8-way, a 10-way, but it's parvo is the main thing you have to worry about.
Right.
So what parvo shot doesn't work by a booster system. It either gets in there and works, or it doesn't. So if the parvo beats the shot, the puppy gets parvo. If the shot gets in there and builds up the immunity, then the parvo shot wins. And so and we don't wait for the customers. A lot of people see the puppies go home at 8 weeks. We could save a lot of money by not giving shots. Just telling the customer, okay, when you get home, 8 weeks, your responsibility to make sure the puppy gets its shots. But people being as they are, you can't guarantee that happens. And so if they call us and say, I forgot to give the shot, now the dog's got parvo, they've spent, tons of money at the vet. The puppy probably will die. Well, even if it lives, they spend a ton of money. If it dies, then we have to give them another puppy, because that's what we do.
What our guarantee is.
So, you want to tell them about the 7-week puppy test?
Yes, we do a 7-week puppy test. It is designed just to really see who's a strong alpha puppy and who's not. Most of the time they we first we try to get them to come to us. They usually do that. Then we have a piece of paper that we wad up and throw and see if they get it and bring it back to me, and they usually will do that. You bang a pan and then put it down and see what their reaction is to it. Normally they will go over and sniff it just to check it out and see what it was. And then flip them on their backs and hold them down there for a minute, see how dominant they are. And then and then Randy has a little fishing pole with a string on the end, or with a sock on the end, and you toss it out and kind of pull it to see if they're going to try to catch it or if they're going to point it.
Yeah, by the time they're 7 weeks, we have a pretty good idea of who's who and what they're going to be and how they're going to be. But the test sometimes reveals a few things. We don't mind if they shy away from the pan, and we like them to come back if they do and sniff it. And if it's going to be a dominant dog, one that wants to regain its feet after being placed on the back, we want to make sure that goes to the right family.
Right.
We don't want to give that one to the little old lady that lives by herself. We want to give that to, a hunter family that knows what they're doing, or somebody that's, in the household that's dominant, either the wife or the husband. So we do that test, and we usually video it, and we used to do it on paper too, and we give it scores and all of that. But we've kind of modified it, because in the original test, which is it's the Volhound test, VOLHUND, I think. And that's a specific test in certain orders. We've modified it. Obviously, they don't have a sock on a string on a fishing pole to test for the point and chase, but they do have part of it that is actually the chasing part. So we do that. So we spend a lot of time with our puppies.
Yeah.
But getting back to the breeding part of it, when you first start, a couple of things to think about. The average breeder of German Short is probably the average breeder of any dog is 5 years. They breed for 5 years and they're done. Typically, you figure that if they're breeding for 5 years, they may not even have their first breeding until the 4th year. So and they're typically breeding one litter a year. So the most litters they've ever could have, probably an average person, would be 4 or 5 litters. Even if a breeder gets to be 10 years and he's only breeding 1 litter a year, 1 litter every other year, they've only had 10 or even 5 litters. There's a couple of ways to look at breeders. There's got a breeder that's breeding for a goal that's set in his mind or her mind what they're doing. And they're working a breeding program to get to that. And then there's just another kind of a breeder that has a couple of nice dogs and they're just breeding a litter and then they're just selling the puppies. If you only have a male and a female, your breeding program's not going very far, because as soon as you breed, and you have puppies, you can't breed back to the puppies because they're sons and daughters. So they're stuck. All they're doing is breeding the same dogs every year, maybe adding another dog someplace along the line. But and they can get there. I mean, even someone that only has a few dogs can reach their goal, but it's going to take a long time. The more dogs that you can breed, the faster you can get there. Whaley, which is the wing and shot guy. Grab that wing and shot, the fourth one to the left there. Whaley, spelled backwards, is Elhue. Elhue started. Whaley started the Elhue line of pointers, and he's got a huge background in genetics. And he said the person that has the more dogs can reach their goal the fastest because they have more dogs to choose from. And this is his shot. This is his book, Wing and Shot. And he also has another one, Making a Snake Book, and he also has a video of this. This is a good book. It's a good breeding. He's a good guy to follow. It's a performance-based breeding program. And that's what we use. And he was into a lot of different kind of breedings. He did horses, he did foxes, he did cat. He had a herd of cattle, milking cattle. He did a lot of stuff. So he's very versed in genetics. So he says, get a goal in your mind of the perfect dog you want and figure out how to get there. And that's what we did. My background in dogs goes back to, always a family hunting dog. We've always had those, from Labradors, Springer, German Shorthair, hound dogs, beagles, a lot of different dogs, especially if you take in my uncle, my dad, my grandpa. And my grandfather raised game chickens too, which is a performance-based program and is basically all about genetics. So the first thing you have to do is understand the type of dogs that are out there. And you have the versatile German Shorthairs, and you have the specialty German Shorthairs, which are more of the field trial dogs. And the field trial dogs are more like English pointers, and they haven't bred for versatility. So they probably don't like the water, and they're probably not going to retrieve, and there's a good chance that they're going to work too far out. So if you start your program from there, and you think, okay, I got the best of the best because these are field trial champion dogs in the pedigree, the problem when it comes down to finding customers, that's going to be a little difficult because the average family does not want that kind of dog. The average family wants a German Shorthair more like a lab. They want good water work, they want a good retrieve. I mean, Kim takes care of the list, and she has been for a year or two now. And, does anybody ever call you and say, hey, you got one of those big running dogs that run over the next hill?
No, not usually.
No. What do they say? When they call you, what do they ask for?
They want a good family dog that can either they're hunters and they want a good hunting dog, a good dog that can do, is very versatile, can do everything. But they also want it to be able to come home at night, come in and play with the kids, right, sleep with their, with their children, or they want